everyone! So this was a challenge I did back in March where I decided to try to fill an entire sketchbook in 1 month. Spoiler alert, I did, and it was a little bit painful, but here's how that went. So to start off, the first drawing was the girl who was on the cover. I did this one first and last to try to show my improvement. But this was the first try. She looked a little older than I intended. Some of the anatomy was a bit weird. And overall, it was a good first try, but I definitely had a lot of room to improve, and I knew what I wanted to work on first was hands. So on day 2, I went straight for, I drew myself in a very cartoony style, with the hands trying to be the focus of the image. This was just a sketch done with pen, so it wasn't like a formal sit-down thing. But then later, I went back in and practiced hands on this page. This is pretty self-explanatory, it's just hands. Some of them look pretty good, some of them don't. But I consider myself to be better at hands for it. On this third page, I just went completely rogue and decided to draw Marvel characters. The top one's Captain Marvel, the bottom one is Wanda, if you couldn't tell. I had fun with this, and I think these still hold up today. Okay, so I included the sketch here for this one, Veronica from Heathers. I got really back into the musical again around this time, and subsequently learned that this paper that I was using for the challenge wasn't great for watercolors, so that's how I discovered that. Oh, next up I just did some silly images from Phineas and Ferb, my favorite show as a kid. This was just something I did during an English class where one of my friends was a fan of Phineas and Ferb as well, so it was a fun time. This I know I did several times. I think I did it twice in this sketchbook, but it's one of my favorite things to do, taking stills from a manga and putting them all together on one page with my favorite pen. I actually killed this pen doing this. Yeah, here's the green one. I ran out of purple ink doing that last page, but this is always a good time, and I'm sure I'll do it again because it's just so much fun to combine them on the same page. This is Kageyama from IQ, and I did this with just this brush pen, this orange brush pen. And this one I did just with my gray gel pen. This is a fun story. I was on a FaceTime with a friend who also likes to draw, and we decided to do the same image and make it into Kaede. So we took a reference image that wasn't her and then made it in a cartoony style look more like her. This one I did with the same friend. It's Scaramouche from Genshin Impact, but again, we went on Pinterest and used a reference image that wasn't the character, it was just a normal person, and used our own style to try to, kind of stylize it and make it into this. I ended up not really liking this one. I liked the idea of it, and some parts are good, but overall the anatomy is just a bit weird, and I wish I had done a better job coloring and shading. This one I did with charcoal. It's a portrait that I think does still stand up to this day. It was a little more smudgy than intended, but overall I kind of liked this one. This is when I watched the movie Turning Red, the Pixar movie, and I really loved this character so much, so I drew her a couple of times from a couple of different angles. This was the first time I'd drawn the back of a head, like ever, so, it was okay for that, but I liked the general idea of this page. I really, really don't like this one. I don't know what it was, maybe the eyes being too far apart or too large, but it really just doesn't look as realistic as I'd hoped. This one is fun. So these next couple of ones are recreations of statues that I did the best I could with shading to recreate. I was at a local art museum, and this book was there filled with these statues. I still have the book, and I plan to do more of these because they were just so interesting. I really loved trying to capture the same emotion of the sculpture in the drawing with my charcoals and my, $5 sketchbook that I got. But it's also an exercise really in shading, which I feel like I came out of this better. And this is just Psyche K. I mean, some things in here are serious and some things aren't. This one I did after a recommendation I got in the comments to work on my necks. So I just took a bunch of different poses, tried lines and shading, and tried to get better at drawing the neck region of the face. Then I moved on to, this one ended up being a little bit creepy, but it was a new outfit I had bought while I was out of town, and so I posed and then drew myself in it. The anatomy isn't great, but it definitely helped me with stylizing the face more and trying to lean towards realism. This here is probably the best side profile I've ever done, still to this day. I don't know what happened here. It was a 10-minute sketch with just this pen. I saw a Pinterest inspiration thing, and there it is. Next, I got really into drawing shoes for a while. I was bored in a Spanish class, and I just started drawing people's shoes that were around me, and then looking up reference images like the ones that were on the box. I honestly just had a really good time with this. These are my friends. They volunteered to be drawn during an English class. You can tell what I do during the majority of my school, I guess. But yeah, this was a good time. They posed for this and everything. This was when I was bored waiting for a rehearsal. I just took the skates out of my bag, put them on the desk, and started drawing them, and nobody really cared. When you're around creative people, you can do creative things. This is Ira from Psyche K, and I colored her with my gel pens. So I kind of wish I didn't do that, because I wasted a lot of ink, especially on the hair, in 2 different colors. And, the facial anatomy, I would have drawn more of her neck, and then I just ended up not doing that, so it was a bit awkward. Here we have a quick sketch I did of Ganyu. This was a day that I was in the mood to draw, but I wasn't in the mood to really sit down and do anything serious. So I did 2 of these little quick 5-minute sketches. This one of Ganyu and the one you're about to see of Hatsune Miku. And these actually ended up being the last 2 pages of the sketchbook before the final reveal. And finally, we come to the final drawing. I think this one looked a lot better than the original. The anatomy was a lot more clean, the shading looked more realistic, and overall, she looked more like the girl I was going for on the cover and less like an older woman. The hands weren't too much better, although they were at least a little bit better, and the leg anatomy could use some more work, but, I'm improving, and here's the comparison side by side. I really think the second one is a lot more accurate, a lot more close to what I was going for, and yeah, I really think it looks good for a month of progress in a book. This sketchbook was only 30 pages total, so it wasn't really super bad for a month. But I had fun doing this, so thank you guys for watching. Subscribe for more art progress and follow my Instagram under the same name to follow my art journey further, and let's get even better next time. See you guys later.